Loading. Welcome to Access the Animus.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new video here on Access the Animus. No intro for this video and let's dive right in. A new and huge Assassin's Creed rumor or leak has landed and it's about an upcoming VR game for the Assassin's Creed franchise, so as it always is the case with this type of information, let's take them with a grain of salt until they are officially confirmed or denied. Titled or codenamed Assassin's Creed Nexus, this is reported to be a game that is supposedly going to be released within the next 12 months and that will supposedly allow players to play as several different main characters from the past Assassin's Creed titles, such as Ezio Auditore da Firenze, Kassandra of Sparta, Connor, Haytham Kenway, and possibly more, with different playable appearances for them being made on a variety of different levels. The rumor comes from xputer.com and more specifically by game journalist Tom Henderson, who has a pretty good track record with rumors about upcoming content for games in general and also for what concerns Assassin's Creed. For example, back in early December 2021, he did mention that a new DLC for Valhalla would have released in the subsequent weeks, which turned out to be true. That was the crossover with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and also that a huge expansion would have landed for Valhalla in March 2022 with around 40 expected hours of gameplay and a quote-unquote God of War style, which also turned out to be true. That was going to be the Dawn of Ragnarok expansion. Well, that turned out to be partially true. There's no 40 hours of gameplay in that DLC. He also recently mentioned that Ubisoft has been planning a huge games showcase for 2022 that should have been delayed by now, and also suggested a potential release date for the rumored Assassin's Creed Rift project in the first half of 2023. So, like I said, the journalist does seem to have a pretty good track record with his rumors and leaks, and so it really seems likely that this new Assassin's Creed VR game called Nexus might actually come between the second half of 2022 and the early months of 2023. But what is the game going to be about? Well, according to Henderson, it looks like it will have quote-unquote everything you would expect from an Assassin's Creed title, with stealth movement, pickpocketing, lock-picking, combat, climbing, and even the leap of faith. Cue the leap of faith VR meme here. So yes, it looks like the game will involve several gameplay opportunities ranging from a more assassin-y style to a more combat-focused approach and some climbing, though he didn't mention parkour directly. According to Henderson, it looks like Nexus will have a total of 16 individual missions with a tutorial that will allow players to get familiar with the game's control in order to be able to properly move within the VR environment. And it is because of the VR nature of the game itself that the movement and navigation will present some differences from the classic Assassin's Creed games. The source mentions that players will be able to play in two possible styles, that is, through the use of the controller's analog sticks or by pointing through the VR controllers to a destination within the VR environment and then teleporting to it. Additionally, Henderson says that the game should also allow a combination of the two styles. Because the game will try and represent the stealth aspects of the Assassin's Creed games, while moving with the sticks will possibly feel similar to the classic Assassin's Creed gameplay, the teleportation style will come with a sound bar that will allow players to know whether their movement via teleportation will alert the nearby enemies. So basically, if they teleport close to the guards, they will produce a higher noise with a bigger chance to get spotted, while teleporting away from the enemies will of course create less sound and noise. So in this case, Henderson reports that the game might allow to teleport some distance away from the guards, then players can crouch because the game will seemingly detect that too, and then they will be able to move closer to the guards through the controller sticks. The game will supposedly also feature assassinations and combat, with the assassinations apparently being the main way to eliminate the enemies. Players will seemingly have hidden blades, that's plural right there, and they will be extracted by holding down a button, and get this, by flicking the wrist, which on paper sounds really cool, and once the hidden blades are extracted, players will then be able to assassinate their enemies. The Hidden Blades gameplay will also depend on whether the player is incognito, in that case the guards will seemingly die in one shot, or whether the guards are alerted, and in that case they will require several hits, and I'm not sure if that means that we'll be able to use the Hidden Blades in combat or not, but it does seem like it. In terms of combat, Henderson reported sword combat being part of Assassin's Creed Nexus, but it will seemingly be standard swordplay for a VR game, where players will swing their swords in order to attack or defend. The source here is so detailed that it even mentioned that it might take 4 to 6 sword hits to kill an enemy, unless it's a hit to the head. In that case it would be a one-shot kill. Lockpicking will also be part of Assassin's Creed Nexus, and it seems it will be used to extend the longevity of missions, where the game will require players to pick the locks of chest and door, and apparently the lockpicking activity was described by the source almost as a minigame in a sense, which will also lead players to specific rewards. The game will also feature the Leap of Faith, which, according to Henderson's sources, will be an addition that the Assassin's Creed fans will enjoy. In order to perform it, players will have to stand in a T pose, and our character will jump off a building and fall in the classic haystack. And again, the sources describe it as a really cool experience, while I can already imagine the videos online of players actually mimicking it and maybe even falling to the ground. Henderson concludes by saying that according to the rumors that he heard from his sources, Nexus might be a quote-unquote cool and immersive VR experience, and he is drawing comparisons with another VR game by Ubisoft, Splinter Cell VR, as both Nexus and Splinter Cell VR had been announced back in September 2020. Henderson also drew another comparison between Nexus and the Assassin's Creed Infinity platform, which is reported to feature several different stories with many different characters and multiple historical settings, and the reason for such comparison is that apparently Assassin's Creed Nexus 2 will have different settings for different stories played by different main characters, albeit on a much smaller scale than Infinity. So it looks like it's not going to be a game where all the main assassins meet up on the same ground. Instead, it seems that each of the main characters will be playable in a mission or a set of missions of their own within their own settings. Now, it's too early to even ascertain if that's going to be a canon game, though the track record for Assassin's Creed VR games has not been the best in the past. The final information shared by Henderson is that the development of Assassin's Creed Nexus is led by Ubisoft's Red Storm studio located in North Carolina, with support by Ubisoft Mumbai, Ubisoft Reflections, and Ubisoft Dusseldorf, which as a studio already has a lot of experience with VR games, and especially with the Assassin's Creed VR games, with the already released Escape the Lost Pyramid and Beyond Medusa's Gate, both non-canon Assassin's Creed themed games set in the worlds of Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. As for the release date, like we mentioned earlier, Henderson's sources expect Nexus to release in the next 12 months, and while he did not mention the release platform for the game, we did find a page on the website of Electric Square, a company that is seemingly co-developing the game, which is mentioning that the game should be releasing exclusively on the Oculus platform, but that, as pretty much the entirety of the information here, should be picked with a grain of salt until a proper announcement. And that was it for the video. What are your opinions and expectations about this rumored and upcoming game? Would you like to play a VR Assassin's Creed game and especially test the feeling of moving and acting like an assassin? Or do you usually avoid this kind of games? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.